Consider yourself a Democrat?
I am not a Democrat in the form of what the Democratic Party has turned itself into, the national brand. Absolutely not. And they know that. They're all good people on both sides.
But what do you think is the reason for, you said you're not a Democrat. What caused Joe Manchin to divorce himself from the Democratic Party?
Here's what I told them. The brand got so bad. The D brand has been so maligned from the standpoint of it's toxic. And the Democratic Party, the Washington Democrats, have tried to mainstream the extreme.
So, okay, this is from the incoming chair of the House Progressive Caucus. He says, if the Democratic Party was a little more like Chairwoman Jayapal and a little less than Joe Manchin, I think we would have won this election.
They'd have lost. Right? They got to be nuts. For someone to say that, they've got to be completely insane.
Right.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We got to talk about more bad news for the Democrats, okay? Because John Fetterman has come out and basically announced to the world that he is not going to be one of these Democrats that his sole job, his sole thing that he's worried about is just standing in opposition to Trump, no matter what, okay? And it gets kind of weird when Democrats do that, right? Because when you stand in opposition to Trump, no matter what, you have to take some pretty wacky policy positions due to your hatred of Trump, okay? And John Fetterman has come out and said, nah, I'm not going to do that, right? I am not just going to be opposed to Trump and everything that he does because I have constituents who are Trump supporters. And he does not like the way that Democrats talk to Trump supporters and what that has resulted in, which is Democrats losing elections due to the fact that they tend to piss off more than half the country.
Looking forward, what are you most optimistic about with a Trump presidency, and what do you fear?
Well, it's like I've been warning people, like, you got to chill out, like the constant, freak out. It's not helpful. So, pack a lunch, pace yourself, because he hasn't even taken office yet.
Do you think he has the potential to be a successful and a good president?
I hope, because I'm not rooting against him. If you're rooting against the president, you are rooting against the nation. And I'm not ever going to be where I want a president to fail. So country first. I know it's become maybe like a cliche, but it happens to be true.
What was the single biggest factor behind Kamala Harris and Democrats losing in November?
You have a singular political talent. It's undeniable.
Trump.
He had the energy and almost a sense of fearlessness to just say all those kinds of things. And people, it's undeniable that it has an entertaining aspect for that too. And just, if you're not afraid to say all of those things, and after you survived an assassination, you literally were shot in your head, and had the presence of mind to respond, fight. I mean, that's a political talent. It's undeniable. And also, I never believed that it was about fascism. And for me, that made it difficult for
Kamala Harris said that he was a fascist.
Yeah, well, it's like, that's her prerogative. I mean, but it's not a word that I would use, because you put a lot of Democrats, especially in my state, that I know, and I happen to love people that are going to vote for Trump, and they are not fascists. And also fascism, that's not a word that regular people, use. That, I think people are going to decide who is the candidate that's going to protect and project, my version of the American way of life. And that's what happened.
Wow. John Fetterman, the more that he recovers from his stroke, the more common sense that he gets, right? That seems to be what's going on with John Fetterman. Clearly, the guy is recovering very well, okay? I've been praying for him, okay, wishing him the best, and look what's happening, right? I think that John Fetterman may be in better shape than Joe Biden right now. To be honest with you, way better shape than Joe Biden. At least John Fetterman is smart enough to understand that, hey, you know what? Maybe smearing half of the country was not a good idea, right? Calling Trump supporters fascists, racist, Nazis, saying that Trump is Hitler. Yeah, these things definitely did not work out in favor of the Democrat Party because, again, Democrats, when you are governing, you don't just govern for liberals and people that support you. You have to govern over everybody, right? Even people that you disagree with politically. A concept that Democrats don't seem to understand. Now, John Fetterman is basically saying that he's not going to just oppose Trump just to oppose Trump, right? Which is essentially what some Democrats are calling for, like Jasmine Crockett, right? They just want to oppose Trump no matter what, right? Doesn't matter what he does, doesn't matter how good. This is why these same people come out here and they talk about the Trump tax cuts, right? How can you be opposed to the Trump tax cuts? Because the Trump tax cuts are not just for the rich, they're also for the middle class as well too, right? When these Democrats come out here and talk about Trump's tax cuts and how they are opposed to them, what they're basically saying is that they want to raise taxes on the middle class, right? They want to raise taxes on you, okay? This is what they advocate for. So again, John Fetterman is just saying that, listen, I'm just not going to be against Trump just to be against Trump. There's some things that I feel like Trump is doing well and things I feel like is best for my constituents, then I'm going to support those things. And that even includes some of Trump's more controversial cabinet appointments, okay? Like, for example, Pete Hegseth, Kash Patel, others. RFK is saying, yeah, I am open-minded about having conversations with these individuals and voting to confirm them. Take a look.
All of them so far, and the ones that we haven't.
His nominees.
They're on the schedule back in January.
You met with Pete Hegseth.
I did, yeah.
You think he's qualified to be defense secretary?
Well, I think we're going to learn more. We're going to learn more. And that hearing, and there's going to be an FBI background and that. But, my commitment, and I think I'm doing the job, is I'm going to sit down and have a conversation. And the president picked these people, not going to be my first choice, second choice, third choice. But that's democracy. And to me, it would be distressing if he is confirmed, if the Democrats are going to turn our back collectively to the leader of the defense. That's astonishing and that's dangerous.
So you see yourself inclined to be open to supporting these controversial nominees. You might not support them all, but you see yourself...
Potentially.
Yeah.
But there is going to be some that I will vote yes, and there's some maybe that I'll vote no. But nobody can accuse me of just saying I had a closed mind, or I just said no because Trump picked this person, or whatever.
I saw you, Elise Stefanik, you have said you're going to vote for her. I saw you with her thumbs up.
Yeah, well, and Rubio. For me, it's like, Rubio, for me, it's like he's in the other party, obviously. But there's a lot of, the Venn is closer. There's a lot of overlap. Yeah. And now if I was, as a Democrat, looking to assemble a bipartisan cabinet, he'd be a solid choice, from a Democrat.
You met with Kash Patel, I believe, right?
Yesterday, well, yes.
He's talked about going after Trump's enemies.
Yeah, and we've had conversations, but we had, all of these interviews were all off the record, and those things. So I'm not going to go into detail, but he absolutely that's never going to happen. Like he was very.
He's not going to use the FBI to go after Trump's enemies.
No, that's not it. Or
did you believe him?
Taken.
I mean, he's written a lot.
That's what he claims.
Yeah.
And I found out, his family's origin story and immigration, and we talked about that. And my family immigration and things. And so I learned things about him. I never knew that he was a public defender.
So did you come across liking Kash Patel more than you thought you would? Thinking you could support him?
It's how much you can absorb in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But I have learned things, and I have heard things, and I have no regrets for having these. I never left any of those interviews saying, wow, that was a waste of time, or I regret that.
Wow. John Fetterman dropping devastating news on the Democrats. Because what Democrats are banking on is for some of the establishment Republicans, at least 2 or 3 of them, to stand against Trump and his picks so that some of them don't go through. Like, again, for example, Pete Hegseth or RFK or Tulsi, Kash Patel. Yeah, that's what they're banking on. And they're especially banking on this for Kash Patel because they do not want him to go after the Democrat criminals, right? The Democrats are very, very, very afraid of the idea of accountability and responsibility for their crimes, right? This is what they are afraid of the most, okay? And Kash Patel could be somebody who would be in a position to hold Democrats accountable. And also never Trumpers as well, too, like Liz Cheney. This is why Joe Biden is considering pre-pardoning some of the Democrat criminals and the never Trumpers ahead of Trump getting into office because of that very reason. But John Fetterman is coming out here and saying that, yeah, he's open-minded to potentially voting yes to have people like Kash Patel and Pete Hegseth confirmed to Trump's cabinet, which, again, is a devastating blow to Democrats because that's one more vote that Trump's cabinet picks would have, which could counteract or balance out some of the neocons who decide to vote against Trump's cabinet picks for whatever reason, okay? So good on John Fetterman, right? I actually like the fact that John Fetterman is saying, yeah, my constituents are also Trump supporters, and I need to make sure that I am not just saying screw them. I'm just going to stand against Trump no matter what, even though the American people voted for his agenda. They voted for his cabinet. They voted for the things that he's doing. So, again, it really doesn't make sense to stand against Trump no matter what when that's what the American people voted for. That's just like standing against your constituents, telling your constituents, nah, I don't care about what you think, right? I don't care about what you voted for or what you want. And John Fetterman seems to be one of the only Democrats smart enough to realize that this opposition to Trump is not going to be popular, right? It's not going to be popular to be opposed to Trump no matter what. That may have worked back in 2016, 2017, 2018, 2020, right? But that's not going to work this time around because the American people understood exactly what they voted for, and standing against what they voted for is probably not a good look. It's not a good look. So, again, it's crazy how a man recovering from a stroke has more common sense and intelligence than the average run-of-the-mill Democrat. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.